My name is Ngozi Nwabueze, and I'm the CEO founder PocketLawyers, and I'm Nigerian, based out of Lagos, Nigeria. And I'm happy to be, part of this interview, in conjunction with a business growth initiative for startups powered by Just for Women Africa.
You began your career as a lawyer. What inspired you to make the bold shift into technology?
I stumbled into technology actually. It wasn't planned. At some point, I had a fashion business that I had shut down after I started having babies. And at some point, I got tired of staying at home. And my husband, at the point, was running a software development company. So I just told him one day that, see, I'm coming and I'm just coming to the office. So he made me chief operations officer, and I was just amazed seeing all the young people doing, building all the technology for different people in different endeavors of life. And I kept asking myself why something like this did not exist for lawyers, right? So they were creating solutions in different fields. Right out of COVID, I just started. I started first, of course, launching my virtual law firm, not because I couldn't even afford to set up, a proper office. And that morphed into the technology, and, on and on. And
How did your background in law help you navigate the tech startup world, which is quite different?
at the point when I started to build the startup, right, of course, I am a corporate commercial lawyer, right? But of course, at that point, I had all my experience had been working with SMEs. So coming now into starting to build my startup, right? And, I felt, okay, I'm a lawyer. Of course, I can handle some of these things myself. But eventually I realized that how law works in the startup ecosystem is totally different from how it works with SMEs. And I made quite a number of blunders in the beginning, right? And I just imagined if I, as a lawyer with experience working with SMEs, if I was making those kind of mistakes, I just imagined the kind of mistakes that people who were not even lawyers were making, and that's what even made me move into startup law, which is like, should I say, a sister to legal tech, sort of, right? So, um, of course, yes, my experience with being a lawyer, of course, has really helped me shape everything that I'm doing today, even on the legal tech side.
Can you explain what PocketLawyers.io does and who it serves?
We launched the first version in 2023, and we pivoted from a service-based model to a pure software as a service model, a pure SaaS model that we have today. So right now, our primary users are the lawyers, right? And the secondary users are the clients. And the clients could either be individuals or businesses or entrepreneurs. How the platform works is it helps lawyers create their virtual law office, right? Almost like Shopify. That's basically what we've created for the lawyers. It also helps the lawyers drive visibility and gives them that opportunity to be able to start off their practice, right, with almost at zero cost. We all know what it costs. I mean, we all have an idea what it takes to be able to set up a physical law firm. It's one of the reasons why there are so many young lawyers who are still battling between, and struggling with their finances because they've not been able to strike off on their own. Because the cost of striking off on their own is really astronomically high, which is why you see a lot of young people coming together. Sometimes you see up to 3-4 lawyers come together to set up a law firm. And that is after, so many years. So this is a tool that helps you to strike off even from day one, right out of call to bar. And, you can do your thing.
What challenges did you face while building a tech solution in such a highly regulated industry?
Of course, a lot of challenges because one, we all know that the legal space is still very traditional, right? Um, in fact, we've been embraced more by the younger generation than, of course, the older generation. And of course, that's understandable, right? Regulation wise, I mean, of course, one of the major things that, people always ask me is, first and foremost, lawyers are not supposed to advertise. I say, yes, we know that, and we've considered all of that, right? Then, of course, issues around data privacy, data protection, security, and all of that. So, yes, these are issues that, we are constantly working to ensure that we are on top of at every point in time. So then, of course, confidentiality, right? Client confidentiality is something that is sacrosanct. So even us as a platform, we don't even have access to the interaction between the lawyer and their clients, right? That also helps with confidentiality, right? So, and of course, their chats are encrypted, among so many other security measures that we have. So these are some of the issues that we have faced.
How do you ensure the quality and trustworthiness of lawyers on the platform?
So first things first, there is a KYC process for lawyers, right? So before you can, be positioned as a lawyer on the platform, well, after you sign up, there's a KYC process that you have to go through. Once you go through that, ensure at the point of sign up, you're first giving us your call to bar number, because every lawyer in any country, in any jurisdiction, usually has a unique number. It's called the call to bar number. Some people call it the Supreme Court number. Whatever it's called, everybody has a number, right? So you provide us that number, and we do, a check to make sure that first and foremost, you are called to the bar. 1, 2. Then we also realize that certain countries they have a yearly license that they give to the lawyers, which you have to renew. They have a process for that. So we have to be sure that you are also currently licensed to practice in your country for that year. Once you do that verification, you do the KYC, you give us your call to bar certificate, you also give us your means of identification, of course, among a couple of other things. Once you verify, you are good to go on the platform. So yes, that's how we're able to ensure that the lawyers, first and foremost, are verified. Then secondly, before the closeout of any task, of any service on the platform, you as a client must give us feedback. Not just feedback, but you would also rate that lawyer, right? And of course, there's a system for dispute. For you to submit a dispute in case you have any issues with any lawyer. So we have internal systems that we use to, ensure that any lawyer that drops below, a certain rating is kind of like blacklisted from the platform, right? Of course, if you're approaching that rating, you get a couple of warnings, right? Just so that you know that, hey, you're probably on your way, to be downsized.
Pocket Lawyer is now active across Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. How has your expansion across these markets been?
We've just realized that there are a lot of things that are similar across Africa, right? For example, law practice is still very traditional. That is something that we know. So the same resistance that we are experiencing here, we're also experiencing, across other countries in Africa. But also on the flip side, the same enthusiasm and the embracing, especially by the younger generation, that we're experiencing in Nigeria, we're also experiencing in these other countries, right? So I think once we're able to crack through that trust barrier, right, we're home and dry, right? So which is why we're, as much as possible, trying to partner with as many legal organizations, because we understand that once there's trust coming from those legal organizations, that the lawyers will be more at ease to, once we partner with them, they are more at ease to use our platform. There have been pros, and of course there have been cons. And of course, yes, we've been learning a lot. We've been learning a lot as to the uniqueness of, different jurisdiction, from, this jurisdiction to the next and to the next. And of course, cultural nuances, the things that we're all just different people. In as much as we're Africans, we're all just different people. And the way you approach Nigerians is different from the way you approach Kenyans, right? It's also different from the way you approach Ghanaians. That's something we are learning, and it's quite interesting. So our strategy is to have people in those countries that understand the cultural nuances and understand their people we're having to now partner with people, indigenous and citizens of those countries, to help us with our, expansion plans.
How do you envision Pocket Lawyers evolving in the next 5 years?
The next 5 years, I see us becoming that platform that is top of mind globally for offering legal services and for accessing legal services. I see us crossing language barriers. Of course, right now we are starting from English-speaking countries. Hopefully before the end of next year, Francophone countries would also be able to use the platform. So, Spanish, as time goes on, we'll just continue to break the barriers and, of course, increase the reach. Of course, next year, we have plans to expand into Asia Pacific, right? And, of course, not just Africa and emerging markets, but, of course, globally.